Jaya Radha Madhuma Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhuma Kunya Bihari Madhura Kunya Vihari Gopi Jana Manava Kiri Varadhari Gopi Jana Balaba Iri Badachari Yasuranandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasuranandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Manachante Yamuna Tira Manachante Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Hiri Vadadhari Gopi Jana Balaba Hiri Vadadhari Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachante Jairanhu Madhva Kunja Bihari Jairadha Madhva Kunya Bihari Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya also Tada Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chalananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidweta Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Gajai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagadada Swami Ki Jai Yamudamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarni. Okay, before class, I just want to mention today's Rukmini Dwadasi, the commemoration or celebration of Rukmini Devi's appearance day. And actually, the breakfast doesn't start till about 9:38 in the morning. So you can eat, but no grains until 9:38 in the morning. So we're going to continue with the Bhagavatam. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 62nd chapter, text 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sa Tatra Tam Apashyante Kvasi Kanteti Vadane Sakenam Maja Utastau Avivala Pradedita Vrisham Satatratam Apasyanti Kvasi Kanteti Vadane Sakinam Maja Utastau Vivala Vredita Vrisham Satatratam Apasyanti Kvasi Kanteti Vadane Sakinam Maja Utastau Vivala Vridita Vrisham Tatatratam Apasyanti Kvasi Kanteti Vadane Sakinam Maja Utastau Vivala Vridita Vrisham. Okay. Bugs again. Anyway. All right. Sa, she, tatra, there, in her dream. Tam, him. Apashanti, not seen. Va, where. Ase, are you. Kanja, my lover. Iti, thus. Vadini, speaking. Sakinam, of her girlfriends. Bajay, in the mist. Utastau, arose. Vivvala, disturbed. Vridita, embarrassed. Risham, greatly. Translation, losing sight of him in her dream. Usha suddenly sat up in the midst of her girlfriends, crying out, "Where are you, my lover?" She was greatly disturbed and embarrassed. You can repeat. Losing sight of him in her dream. Usha suddenly sat up in the midst of her girlfriends, crying out, "Where are you, my lover?" She was greatly disturbed and embarrassed. So purport by the followers of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Coming to her senses and remembering that she was surrounded by her girlfriends, Usha was naturally very embarrassed to have cried out in that way. At the same time, she was disturbed by attachment to the beloved man who had appeared in her dream. So, would read the commentary of Jiva Goswami. She was in great pain because of separation, or overcome with fatigue after enjoying with him. Then she became embarrassed. Harivangsha describes her condition. Sa swapne vramita tena stri bhavam chapilam vita shanitaka parudati sa saivo jita nishi. Enjoying with him in a dream, she became overcome with womanly emotions. With red complexion, she wept and suddenly rose out of bed in the night. It is understood that Aniruddha directly came to her. This was arranged by Chitralekha, as will be explained later. This and his later actions occurred from a display of human-like pastimes. Again, verse. Satatratam apashyanti Vasi kante divadini sakinam maja utastao bivala vridditabrisham. So omagana timbadandasha gananjana shalakaya chakshur unmeditam yena tasmai shigurave namaha. So this is a very romantic section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the marriage of Usha and Aniruddha. So one may question, why do we have this love affair in the middle of Krishna's pastimes? You know, this really love and relationship that appears, well, an unmarried relationship eventually here. So what is happening? Well, first of all, we have to understand who the personalities are. Of course, you have Aniruddha, who is part of the Chaturvyuha expansion of the Supreme Personality of God. It's described, he also represents the mind, or is the presiding deity of the mind. Chaturvyuha means Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Arjuna, and Aniruddha. So, you know, there's Krishna, Balaram, Prajuna, and Aniruddha. And so it's not just an ordinary mortal that she's hankering after. And she's not an ordinary person. I mean, I don't know whether she's Shakti Tattva or Jiva Tattva, but in any case, she's having a conjugal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is transcendental, as we've read before about the gopis' transcendental relationships with Krishna, and also Rukmini's transcendental relationship with Krishna, Satyabhama's transcendental relationship with Krishna. It's not on the mundane platform, although it appears to be like that. It appears, there's simply what we would consider to be some of the external symptoms or manifestation, that's symptoms, and symptoms too, of manifestations of, kissing and everything like that we see in this material world. But these particular interactions are not being performed with material bodies. Certainly Aniruddha doesn't have a material body. And to engage in conjugal loving affairs with Aniruddha, one would not have a material body to be able to do that. So that's the first point I wanted to make. Another point I think is even more important is that her mood, anyway, it's springtime and bug time. So her mood of intense feelings of separation from Aniruddha, as pointed out by the acharyas here, and as we know from the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, dealing with vipralamba, or intense mood of separation, means that she's actually with Aniruddha, even in her dream, even before Chitralekha comes and does her magic thing. Sometimes it's described by the acharyas that Chitralekha is considered to be like an expansion of Yogamaya. Interesting. And Yogamaya ranges for the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, or the pastimes of Krishna's expansions with his particular consorts. So Chitralekha is actually manifestation of Yogamaya, or expansion of Yogamaya, according to the acharyas. And even before Chitralekha brings Aniruddha to be before Usha, Usha is already with Aniruddha, because she's feeling separation. And this feeling of separation is considered to be the highest ecstasy in relationship with the Supreme Personality of God. And of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching this and experiencing this at the same time. So just recently, we were giving some lectures on Lord Rama's pastimes. And Lord Rama's pastimes are pastimes of intense separation. Actually, Krishna's pastimes too are pastimes of intense separation. And so from the external point of view, because this is Ram Navami, which occurred some time before, but from the external point of view, Lord Ram's pastimes, or the Ramayana, is a tragedy. If you look at it from an external point of view, because it's continual separation, not only between Sita and Ram, but between Dasarath and Ram, between Ram and Lakshmana, and we're going to mention some of these stories in a second, between Ram and Hanuman. And, what's going on here? Just like we hear in this particular story, what's going on? She's suffering so much, but she's not suffering. Even her crying and lamenting that her dream broke, and she's no longer having this relationship with Aniruddha, which in fact was a real relationship, even though it was in a dream. That in itself is a symptom of ecstasy because it's dealing with the Lord and his consort. So even the lamentation, of course, material lamentation when we're separated, of course, as a sannyasi, I can't say beloved. I can say Krishna is beloved. Krishna is the beloved. Lord Chaitanya is the beloved. Srila Prabhupada is the beloved. Of course, usually we don't use that word for dealing with ourselves in a spiritual context, but he's our focus of devotion. So when we feel separation from these personalities, it can be considered sometimes to be miserable, but it's ecstatic. How to explain that to a conditioned soul? That's very, very difficult. How can misery be the greatest ecstasy? Isn't it? I mean, it's just so hard to understand. So anyways, getting back to Lord Ram's pastimes, which I love to talk about. If you read the Ramayana, you'll see that there's one painful episode after another. For example, even when Ram is he just becomes a teenager, basically. He is asked by Vishwamitra Muni to go to the forest to help Vishwamitra Muni defeat the demons, Marich and Sabahu. And so Dasarath at that time he's feeling impending separation, which is actually part of the whole progress. You know, there's impending separation, there's actual separation, there's a purvarag before meeting again. I mean, it's a whole system. It's a whole system of meeting, then experiencing impending separation, then actual separation, and then before meeting again, purvarag, all these different things that occur in a cycle. So anyway, Dasarath is experiencing great pain because he's going to have to send Ram away. And he's very reluctant to abide by the orders of Vishwamitra Muni, who is requesting Ram. And he's in great pain, and he says, I'll go myself, I'll send my army, anything. But please don't take Ram. And Vishwamitra Muni says to him, just increasing the pain. He says to him, I can see that all of your ancestors kept their words, but you're the first one in your whole dynasty. Of course, this is the Surya dynasty, who has broken his word, and he gets ready to storm off. And Dasarath in more anxiety. So this anxiety in relationship to Krishna, in relationship to Ram, in relationship to Krishna's pure devotees, this is purifying. It's a spiritual emotion. Whereas anxiety in this material world is simply, it's not a spiritual emotion, but it's simply contaminating. It keeps you from being focused on the real purpose of life. Like if you have anxiety about your body, your anxiety about your schoolwork, whatever, it takes away your focus. But we're meant to be in anxiety. Actually, the pure devotees, they're in anxiety about the plight of the conditioned souls. Krishna is actually in anxiety about the plight of each and every one of us. So these are spiritual emotions. So anyway, the material emotions are perverted reflections of the spiritual emotions. So getting back to the point, so eventually Dasarath gives in because Vasishtha Muni says, don't worry, he'll protect, that's Vishwamitra will protect Ram. And so Ram is away, and then Dasarath then experiencing extreme separation, extreme emotions of separation from Ram. So anyway, so Ram comes back eventually, and he brings with him his new bride, Sita. And so Dasarath thinks, I got to enthrone him as soon as possible, because the symptoms are, there's bad symptoms that are predicting some sort of calamity. And then you have Mantra and Kaikeyi do their thing, and Ram has to be exiled, and Dasarath is experiencing more separation when Ram is sent away. And he dies feeling that separation. And of course that was the curse that he had, because he killed the sage who was taking care of his blind parents. So Dasarath dies. So then Sita and Ram enter the forest. Then Sita is kidnapped, and Ram experiences separation. And Sita in the hands of Ravan. Of course, we understand it's Maya Sita. But anyway, this Maya Sita, Sita in the hands of Ravan, is experiencing intense separation. So just think of the tragedy. Of course, you could look at it from one angle of vision. It appears to be a tragedy. And then, after that, Sita finally is rescued by Ram. Ram kills Ravan. And then Ram says, you can't come back. You go anywhere you want, lady. I only did this, basically to defeat Ravan. And now that I've defeated Ravan, I've established my reputation by defeating Ravan. You just go anywhere you want. And then she has to enter the fire, and everyone's experiencing this extreme pain seeing Sita Devi come out of the fire. Okay, so she comes out of the fire, and then she goes back with Ram, and then all of a sudden this washerman starts to criticize Lord Ram for accepting Sita Devi back. So then Ram has to send Sita Devi away, and experience the separation from Sita Devi. He has to make a deity of Sita Devi so he can perform these different sacrifices, because the sacrifices had to be performed with the wife on the side of the husband. And so for many, many years, Sita is separated from Ram again. Ram is separated from Sita, and they're crying. And such a tragedy, isn't it? And then, of course, also Love and Kush grow up without their father. And when they finally find who their father is, they simply get angry with him because he's sent their mother away. Anyway, so eventually they all come back, and Ram tells Sita Devi, if you really want to come back, even though I accept Valmiki Muni's statement that you've been chaste, you have to vow that you were chaste. And she says it's too much. She enters the earth, and Ram experiences separation again. So it's again and again and again. What a tragedy, right? So then you think, well, is that the end of it? Isn't there any more intense episodes in the Ramayana? And then again, Rama's experiences separation from Sita is described in the Valmiki Ramayana for 60,000 years. He has to be separated from Sita, and Sita's entered the earth. She's gone back to the spiritual world, of course. And then it comes time for Ram to leave the planet. And so in order to be told it's time to leave the planet, this personality who's a representative of Yamaraj comes. His name is Kal Purush. Kal Purush is actually the personality of time. And he comes to speak to Ram, and he says to Ram, I'll speak to you, but no one should interfere or intrude upon our conference. And he says, you got to station someone there. So Ram stations Lakshman. And he says Lakshman, no one should enter. And if anyone comes in, whoever comes in or whoever interferes with what we're doing here, I'm going to banish him from the kingdom. Okay. So then Durvasa Muni comes, demands to see Ram, says he's going to destroy the whole kingdom unless he's allowed to see Ram. So Lakshman has to allow him to see Ram, and then Ram has to banish Lakshman. You remember Lakshman has been his inseparable companion. He's been like Ram's shadow for all these years. So he banishes Lakshman. Lakshman enters the Sarayu River, manifests his form as an Anantashesha, and goes back to Godhead. So Rama is now without Lakshman. He's lamenting the separation from Lakshman. If that wasn't enough, then it comes time for Ram to leave the planet. Lord Ram, sorry. That's interesting. I always have this habit of addressing Ram as Lord Ram as Ram, because one should not have that intimate relationship with Ram that one has with Krishna. We can say Krishna, but with Lord Ram, we should say Lord Ram. Everybody understands the point? Because it's not, we don't become intimate with Ram like we can with Krishna, with Lord Ram. There, I did it again. So, anyway, so Lord Ram is experiencing separation from Lakshman, and then it comes time for Lord Ram to leave the planet, And then he tells Hanuman and Vibhishan, I'm leaving, and Hanuman, you have to stay here. And you simply have to chant my glories and worship my deity as long as separation. So the point I want to make is that it's not actually a tragedy. And Usha is experiencing separation from Aniruddha because she has previously met Aniruddha, because the dream is real, is not painful, it's sweet, it's ecstatic. It's not like the pain we experience in this material world. Or if anything, it's like an ecstatic pain. So because the mood of intense meditation, whether it's in the mood of separation or longing, brings us or connects us even more with Krishna and with our spiritual master. So we're meant to have this particular mood. But so how can we have this particular mood in the performance of our devotional service? Obviously, we're probably not established in the conjugal relationship, and at night we're probably not kissing with Aniruddha or with Krishna. At least I'm not. Having that sort of relationship. Some of you may be at that platform. I'm not on that platform. But we can have this mood in relationship, for example, for those of us who are initiated by Srila Prabhupada, or even those who are not initiated by Prabhupada. You can have this mood of intense separation from Prabhupada. You can actually have dreams of Srila Prabhupada. And you can have this mood of intense separation from Krishna when you're chanting Krishna's holy names, because Krishna's holy names are non-different from him. So the thought of Krishna, the deity of Krishna, the holy names of Krishna, the picture of Krishna, even the picture, or the pictures we have here, here's a picture of Radha and Krishna over there, is non-different from Krishna. Krishna is there. This is the nature of the spiritual energy or spiritual personalities, that they are manifest in all these different ways. And the more we manifest or experience intensity, the closer we are with the spiritual personality. So the whole point is to have this mood of intensity. And of course that's mentioned. Tivrena bhakti yogeni yajechta purusham param. What does that mean? Tivra means very forceful or intense. And we see that His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, this morning I was listening to Srila Prabhupada give a class, and he's very intense when he's giving the class. Not passionate, but just very intense. He was giving the class this morning about his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It was a disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And you can hear Srila Prabhupada was so much connected with him that he did something that's different than what we ordinarily do when we're talking about a personality, Vaishnava Appearance Day or Disappearance Day. We usually tell all these stories, right? But instead, Prabhupada focused immediately, instead of telling the story of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's life, which we usually do. He was born in Jagannath Puri, and then the story where he had his first grains when Lord Jagannath stopped in front of the cart. The garland fell on him. All these different. The cart stopped in front of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that is Bhakti Vinod Thakur's house, and the garland fell on him. Instead of telling these stories, he was intensely focused on the mission of his Guru Maharaj. And he was talking about how his Guru Maharaj desired, that is Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, desired that Krishna consciousness would be spread all over the world, and that the devotees. Then he even talked about how Bhaktivinoda Thakur desired how the Westerners would come to Sridhar Mayapur. And he just focused in a very intense way on the mission of his Guru Maharaj. So you can see he was meditating on the Vani of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, in other words, we have to develop some way where we can meditate, intensely, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, on the mission of Srila Prabhupada, or meditate on the pastimes of Krishna, or meditate on the holy name with intense focus. And then, as I mentioned before, the more we can be in that mood, the closer we are. So here in this particular story, we have Usha in a very intense mood, in a conjugal mood, meditating on Aniruddha and interacting with Aniruddha, and she is with Aniruddha when she's feeling these emotions. And later, of course, externally, Aniruddha will be brought to her by her friend Chitralekha. So any questions or comments? Questions, comments? Well, the essential difference is spiritual emotions, you're meditating on a spiritual personality or a spiritual holy dham or something like that. And you're actually connected with material emotions. The essential difference is material emotions, you're not actually connected. There's actually no connection when we're feeling, because in material emotions, it's about us. Or if anything, it's our projection of what we think the other person is. It's not actually, the other person is not manifest in that particular emotion. Does that make sense? For example, I always give this example. One may be separated. I give the example of a sailor who's on a ship, and he's separated from his girlfriend, wife, whatever. And he's feeling, looking at her picture, feeling, oh, Sally, whatever her name is. I really love you. I'm feeling your separation. And his wife at the same time is having some sort of, hate to mention, some sort of affair. And eventually, this sailor receives a letter from Sally, and it's a Dear John letter. So he realizes it's all been an illusion. So that's the essential difference. There's no sambandha, there's no actual connection. But on the spiritual platform, of course, one has to be careful of one's imagination or one's dream. Sometimes, we think that Prabhupada is giving us some particular instruction. And actually, he's not. It's just our imagination or desire that's manifesting let us say, a Maya Prabhupada. Just like there's that Vatsasura, the Maya coward boy. So that may happen too. I mean, it's interesting in the pastime of Shamananda, we find that he says to his spiritual master, Hriday Chaitanya, that you actually gave me this name. Wasn't true. Actually, his name was given by, Srimati Radharani and Lalita Devi. But he says, you gave it to me in a dream. And his spiritual master says his dreams are Maya. And ultimately, his spiritual master beats him up. Because he said, it didn't happen like that. And of course, then his spiritual master has a dream. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears to him in a dream and chastises him. So sometimes we may have a dream, and it may appear that Krishna is there, and may appear that. So what do we have to do as conditioned souls? We have to verify that with other devotees, with more advanced devotees. With perhaps our spiritual master. We can go to our spiritual master if he's not present on the planet. We go to more advanced devotees and said, I had a dream last night that Krishna was kissing me. Because I never had that dream. So Krishna was kissing me, and what do you think about this? And then the spiritual master said, that's a bunch of nonsense. Or the advanced devotee will say. So that's the advantage of having the association of devotees. They can correct us when we become deviated in different ways. But, however, one should somehow or other arrange their life, arrange their sadhana in some way or other that the intensity of their meditation on Krishna, or their thinking of Krishna, or thinking of Krishna's service, which is non-different from Krishna, the intensity becomes manifest. Otherwise, if it's just very, very light, Hari Bol, just a bunch of Hari Bowlers. Sorry, Hari Bowlers. Anyway, that's what they call this group in Hawaii, isn't it? Siddharth's group is called the Hari Bowlers. The Hari Bowlers. So anyway, so we can say Hari Bol, and we really have to have some bhav behind it, some emotion behind it. And the more intense that emotion is, the more connected we are. And so you see that Krishna does things to bring out these intense emotions, and those things may appear to be very unfortunate or painful. Like you see Queen Kunti, she was subjected to many, many difficulties. You may say that's a tragedy, her whole life is a tragedy. But the tragedy of her, so-called tragedies of her life, were simply bringing her closer to Krishna. And she realized that. She said, Tatra Tatra, Jagat Guru. Again and again caused these things to happen. Because apunar bhavadarshanam. I don't want to see repeated birth and death in this material world. So this should be our mood. Not our mood shouldn't be, please let the miseries happen again and again. But somehow or other, arrange our lives so we're intensely hankering. Yugayitam nimishena chakshusha pravashayitam. Shunyayitam jagat sarvam. Govinda vidahena me. Or lamenting. Why am I not hearing my japa? Why am I not connecting to Krishna? Lamentation, Prabhupada said, is purification. Spiritual lamentation. Not material lamentation is something, Brahmabhuta, Prasanana, Shoshati, Nakanshati, Samak Sarvesha Bhute, Shu, Madbhaktim Lebate Param. When we come to the spiritual platform, you don't have material lamentation. Material lamentation is, why, oh why did I lose this? Why don't I have this? That's sentiment. Just like, I was talking to one devotee the other day. He says, I'm very attached to the house that I was born in. He's thinking of that house. What? This is material lamentation. Spiritual lamentation is, why am I not Krishna conscious? I've been chanting all these years. Like myself, I've been chanting, God knows how many years, 55, 58 years or something like that. Why can't I see Krishna? I hear Prabhupada said, so he said, of course, Prabhupada was always a pure devotee, but Prabhupada said that it took him, 30 years to chant Hare Krishna purely. So here I am, 58 years, and I'm still, basically maybe on the clearing stage if I'm lucky. And then just, oh my God. So this lamentation can increase the intensity of your chanting, the intense meditation of your chanting, and then you're more connected. So this is really what's happening here, what is happening with Usha, that they increasing the lamentation. Aniruddha, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chaturvyuha expansion, is increasing the lamentation. I think we're over time here. And I haven't heard the concho, the magic concho. Well, don't wait for me. You should. Yeah, but still. Deities are more important. See, anyway, so we should lament. And just like when I'm traveling, I'm looking at pictures of the deities. Why am I not with Radha Golokananda? And the more intense, we should do things that awaken that lamentation, hankering, separation. Even though it's very painful, these are the most intense emotions. More than when you're with Krishna is when you're separated from Krishna. Yeah. Yeah, hey Radhe Braja Devake, hey Nanda Shuno Kata, Radharani Krishna, where are you? They're lamenting. Why am I not? And you read about, especially Raghunath Das Goswami, there's a lot of lamentation there. But this is ecstasy. And if we're lamenting our separation from some material thing, that's not ecstasy, it's misery. So I'm just waiting for the conch shell to blow. Oh my God. Sounds like an elephant. Namago Vishnu Vajaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Namani and day. Namaste, Bhagavati Deve, Gauravani Macha, Nene Sisha, Shunyavadi, Vasachavade, Satarade. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jayaraj looking on the Tanna looking on the Rathe Narad looking on the Radha looking on the Rathe Rathe Jai Om Vishnu Divine Grace ISKCON founder Acharya Prabhupada Namacharya Stop. Present say go Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shivaya Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Gijaya Shri Krishna Goswami Shanakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Vrindavanam Gijaya Naturam Gijaya Swami Gijaya Srivasadevi Gijaya Bhakta Gaur all glorious to Some glorious to Shiva Bhakta
Just a quick announcement that we're having Harinam Sankirtan Saturday, 4:30 at 5 Points in Durham. Please come. It's going to be a nice day. And it's a great day to give everyone the chance to hear the holy name. Hare Krishna. Chaito Dharmana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya. Lots of nice flowers. Yeah. And we're getting some gardenias. Andam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vidayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudan Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi